Hi, and welcome back to the third video of the Hibernate video tutorial series by Lokam Chanakya. In the last tutorial, we talked about the project structure in a Hibernate application, what prerequisites you need for a Hibernate application, and we also talked about the configuration parameters that we use in a Hibernate application. In today's tutorial, we'll be talking about how we can create the project structure that we discussed about last time in the Eclipse IDE. So to start off, let's first close all these tabs that are already open. I have a couple of projects that I already did. Now let's create a new project using the new Java project. I'll be using a standalone Java project to create our Hibernate CRUD. Let's give it the demo name as Hibernate Operations Demo. And you can see it uses the Java SE 1.7 execution environment as its JRE. You can leave all the other settings as default and go over to next. The next class, this is where we have to add our jar folders. This is where the whole project structure is defined. First step would be to go over to libraries. And you can see you have add jars and add external jars. You can use add jars to add jars whenever you have the jar files in your project, but when they're in some external location, you can use the add external jars. So in my case, my external jars are there in a folder on my desktop. So first I'll add the Hibernate jars, which are all these. I'll provide the link for the download of these jars in the video description below. So let's just select Command A, because I'm using a Mac, or Control A on your system, and click Open, and all the jars should be added. Now that the Hibernate jars are added, the next step would be to add the MySQL jar, which you also have downloaded. So we go over to Download Dump, MySQL connector, and we add the MySQL connector jar. Now that all our jars are added, our project is ready to be created. So let's click on Finish. Now that the jars have been added to the build path, we can go over to the project, click on the arrow mark, and you can see inside the reference libraries, you have all the jar folders that we created. Now that that's done, you can also see that the JRE files are also added by default. Now to start off, we have to have a Pojo class. So new class. Let's give its name as Pojo, or give it persistence class. Let's give the package as com.hibernate.demo and click on Finish. And we can now see that we have our persistence class. What goes into the persistence class will be discussed in a later tutorial. Today, we will be only discussing the project structure. The next step will be to create another Java class to handle the database operations. So let's call this as CRUD operations. And we'll also put it into the same package. Once we click on Finish, we should have our CRUD operation class created as well. As you can see on the left hand side where the project folder or the project structure is being created. For now, do not concentrate on the code, as we're concentrating on the project structure and which files we will be needing. The next step would be to create another class, which will be our main class. And this will be the class where our main function actually calls the CRUD operations that we define in the CRUD operations class. So let's go over here, and in which method stubs would you like to create? Let's create the public static void main method inside this class. You can write it on your own, or you can add it automatically by using this particular option. Once you click on Finish, you should see that we have a main class along with the public static void main method. Now that our classes are created, the next step will be to create the hibernate.cfg.xml file. For that, right-click on Source and go to New, and then select Other. In this, let's go over to XML. As you can see, we have a long list. Let's go over to XML and select XML File, and then click on Next. The next step would be to give its name, which we give as hibernate.cfg.xml. We'll go over to Next. Let's just create an XML file from Xml Template, which uses this particular XML declaration, which declares the encoding of the XML file. And click on Finish. As you can see, we now have the hibernate.cfg.xml file created as well. What goes into this XML file will be defined in a later tutorial. Now that we pretty much have all our classes and our configuration files along with the jar folders, we've covered the three parts that need to be in the project structure. What to configure into these files will be covered in later tutorials. Thank you for listening in to the Chanakya video tutorial series on Hibernate. Please subscribe to the channel and like our videos.